hormone therapy for tall girls and short boys. So it's the parallels are so striking. So
That was a
and
thing. What decade was this going on in?
well, this is it. So it started in the 1940s and it spanned all the way to the 1990s. And it's pediatric endocrinology. It's the exact same field that is currently in the midst of this scandal, at the center of this scandal. So girls who were predicted to be over a certain height, and the height predictions were absolutely not accurate, or they had no means to actually predict. So they were just assuming which girls, like guessing which girls would be tall. And they would pump them full of estrogen because that would speed up puberty, thereby reducing the amount of time they had to grow.
Is this
Complete.
scientific? Does that even make sense?
This is there's no honestly they knew nothing about the long-term safety risks. They knew nothing about whether it was even effective, and they didn't even know what the final height was going to be anyway. And the end result is they basically, because they don't know what the final height was going to be, they don't have any real way of measuring, and it seems to have maybe worked to reduce height by an inch. Maybe we don't even really know. And then they did an inquiry into it in 2000, and they found obviously high rates of breast cancer, uterine cancer, miscarriage, endometriosis, all sorts of health problems came with pumping these girls full of estrogen. To be tall was considered unfeminine, which is exactly what we're doing now to these girls who are not feminine, they're masculine girls, and we're pumping them full of testosterone rather than estrogen. But then the short boys, they were given human growth hormone. So they're extracting the human growth hormone from the pituitaries of corpses. Sort of, it seems in my mind when I was reading about it, they're basically just grinding it up and injecting it into these boys, long needles as well. Again, no actual knowledge of what their final height would have been. It didn't seem to work very much for most of the boys. It didn't even increase their height at all. And then tragically, a bunch of the boys start dying of Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease, the sort of like mad cow disease, that terrible brain virus type thing. It's not a virus. So because they were taking the pituitaries from people who had died of this disease, and then they were grinding them up and injecting it into the boys. But again, it's pediatric endocrinology. They have this scandal in the recent history, and then they just leap straight into the next one.
I that's I didn't know any of that. I was just thinking like lobotomies and hysteria, but I didn't know about like they were actually trying to engineer like kids.
I just remembered, listen to this. This I didn't put into the thread. I forgot to put it in. Lupron is in there. At one point in the 80s or 90s, they've got these boys on Lupron, the puberty blockers, and they're pumping them full of the human growth hormone. Oh no, this is not human growth hormone. This is synthetic growth hormone, because they've done away with the contaminated one. So they're blocking the puberty with Lupron while at the same time injecting them with growth hormone, and still without any evidence that it's even working. It's truly remarkable that they could just leap from one to the other, though.